Chukaraulo, am I right? The Irish guy, doing the best I can. Deputy Commissioner of Veteran Affairs, also a veteran of the Navy, focused on making sure no veteran falls through the cracks, especially when it comes to mental health, housing, and access to resources. Caroline Martinez, could probably pronounce Esther's name better than me. Right here at Relation, she's helping veterans turn their service into degrees, credentials, and real career pathways. Jason Furman, Marine Corps Iraq veteran, Felician alum, law enforcement professional, and someone who's turned service into purpose in a whole new way, and also a fellow Board of Trustees member. Sometimes I think I'm doing a whole bunch, and then I look at what Jason is doing, and I'm like, I gotta get out of bed, because I gotta catch up to this guy. So, before we dive in, one quick question. How many of you feel that you have a clear, concise plan moving forward for your career? How many are still figuring it out? Yeah.
Every day.
Perfect. That's exactly why we're here. Before we jump in with our esteemed panel, I remember the moment the uniform came off. That happened to me twice, right? Once in the military and once as the sheriff of Bergen County. I thought, now what? I knew how to lead. I knew how to operate under pressure. What I didn't know was how to translate that into the civilian world. The journey took me from Army Military Police to the sheriff of Bergen County to building my own business. And here's the truth. You don't lose your value when you lose service, but you do have to learn how to redefine it. And that's what today is about. So if you're still figuring it out, you're not behind, you're in the process. Let's start making it happen. So we'll start out with Jason. And I have a series of questions here that I've kind of prepared ahead of time after preparing with each of these panelists. And we might mix things up along the way depending on what you say. So with that, Jason, I'm going to start with you because it hits at the core of what we're discussing. You have said in the past, when I was deployed, I felt like I had purpose. Remember that, Jason? Not too long ago.
Absolutely. I remember that.
So that line sticks with me because I think that it resonates with all of us. What's your purpose today? And really, how hard was it to find that purpose after you took off your uniform?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, right? So, not to make anybody feel bad about me, right? Because we all look for some kind of purpose. But, being in the military, being able to deploy and do what we had to do was that time where it didn't matter who we did it with, right? It didn't matter that, we missed our family, we were away from home, but there was something that was really, truly important in what we were doing. And that happens for such a certain amount of time. Once that goes away, you come back and then you start to chase that dream of, hey, well, I feel like I'm have some kind of purpose, right? I feel like I'm being a productive member of society. So personally, what I ended up finding was, how do I keep myself still engaged in the veteran community? Either be with other veterans, different nonprofits that are going on here in the state of New Jersey, anywhere nationally, youth programs, anywhere where I can lend some mentorship to someone that's trying to figure out things, right, in their military career or just any kind of career. So that's where I found it, right? Mentorship, youth programs, nonprofits, anything that I can lend my experience to help them kind of navigate what they have to do. Learning from the good and the bad. Both things are important to learn from. So I've been doing that, and that's how I keep myself sane, in a sense, right? Along with my job, I do that, and it makes me feel fulfilled, right? And I can get back in some form of fashion.
So, is that why you entered law enforcement? From military into law enforcement? Because I share that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know what's funny? I never thought about going to law enforcement, and law enforcement just came about because
you were too busy getting chased.
Well, I got an active duty, right? I was on unemployment for a little bit, and my sister's a police officer. She says, "Hey, they're hiring. Why don't you take this test?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" It's the closest thing I thought about doing from when I did the military was with infantry. I shot machine guns. I was a machine gunner, right? So what's the closest thing I could think of doing from that to civilian world, I was like, I guess police.
So you traded one uniform for
Yeah,
another.
absolutely. So, and 17 years later, I'm still doing it, and it's a good time. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I wouldn't trade anything I did in the military or in the policing. I would do it all over again if I had to.
So with that short period of time that you were on unemployment, like many of us, right? You were enlisted. I was enlisted, right? Not a big shot like Colonel here, but
I started out enlisted.
well, you're even better, right? In the Navy, they call it a maverick, right?
Yes.
So very good.
Sorry,
but
That's
you
all right.
but he understands that's why he's such a good guy. But Jace, what was that transition like? You know, in that period of time when you were trying to decide what that purpose was. I would imagine at that time you hadn't really went full force into giving back to the community yet with the service. I mean, with community service. I mean.
No, that's a good thing to bring up. It took me a while. It wasn't just overnight, right? Because I was very content on doing my job. You go to your shift, you work your job, you just want to get home because you're tired. You're really not thinking about doing anything after that or before that, right? Or even on your weekends. You're not thinking about spending time doing things with other people that are complete strangers instead of just being home and relaxing. It took some time. It took time to realize that, hey, there's a certain point in my career I want to get to, and it's going to take networking, it's going to take meeting other people that have experiences and connecting with those people and sharing and absorbing the information that they have that's made them successful. That's really where I started to kind of pick that up, right? Because you kind of get to a stagnant point in your career and you're like, how do I get above that? How do I start thinking about retirement also? How do I think about, well, once I retire from this job, you know, I might choose to stay home and do nothing, but I might want to go work somewhere. So how do I start to build those skills to allow me to be, marketable in the workforce outside of the police force?
Perfect segue. And when it comes to transition, your transition from the Navy, Commissioner. So did you have a similar experience when you left the Navy?
Good afternoon, and thank you for those that are joining us virtually and the ones that are here present. My transition, I will say, I re-enlisted because I needed to get my bachelor's degree. So I say I'm going to re-enlist for another period, and what better way? I ended up in Connecticut. So that worked out really well. But when I got out, I was like, so now what? Do I continue school? I got out of the military because I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have kids. So I say, I can't, I gotta take off this uniform, I gotta go live my civilian life now. And
did you know what you were going to do on your way out? Okay.
I will say that I wanted to continue to serve and continue to help my fellow veterans. And what brought me to Felicia was that I became here and got a master's degree in counseling psychology to become a therapist, because my dream was that I was going to go to the VA and save everybody and give them therapy, just to make them sane. But that wasn't the full path. I came here, I was able to complete my master's in 2 years, and I was super excited about it because it was such a great path and the support that we got into school from the professors. But when I complete my degree, I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to do therapy. I don't think this is it.
Other than receiving it.
Yeah,
That we all need, right?
that wasn't it. So I ended up working with kids for a little while, doing in-home services, in-home therapy. I did that for about 4 or 5 years before I joined the state. But when I got out, I was very confused, very unstable as to, I wanted to take the police test. Actually, when my first enlistment was up, I took the police test in New York to become a state trooper. And I was like, yeah. My husband was like, I don't think that's you either.
I'll put you up in Rochester someplace far away, forget about it.
And I also wanted to become a teacher. I had so many careers. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And my husband said to me, you can become a police officer but not a teacher. You just don't have the patience. I don't know. So, but it was confusing, yes.
So if I could jump over to Colonel Cantor, what was your transition, right? You were an enlisted guy, you went to OCS after that at some point, and then, listen, you got several combat veterans here. How do you go from that theater back to home? And what was your transition like?
Yeah, it's certainly not easy. I know that when I transitioned, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up either. And so when I took the police test for New York City and was going to go that route, but that wasn't my path, right? So I had to try to figure it out on my own. And you never know where your path is going to take you, right? And you never know who you're going to meet along the way. And, I interacted with so many different people and felt that, corporate life was going to be more my speed. So I did some corporate work for a while. And then I decided to start my own business because the leadership skills that, I taught you in the military and the responsibility and looking out for others all plays well for owning your own business and going that route. So that's what I decided to do. And you just never know what door opens up for you because of somebody you met along the way that's going to help you.
And that's a really good one. Bring that back to Jason for a second. So Jason, for the folks here right now and that'll listen to this in the future, if they feel lost, like Jeff said, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. What's the first move they should make? Now you all have the benefit of hindsight, having gone through it. What's that first move that you think that someone right now getting out, taking off their boots, what's the next step?
So
I'll open that up.
Yeah, so, it can be a little difficult at first, right? Because you might be that introverted person, doesn't really want to get out there and talk to people and learn.
Like you.
That's right. So Google's your friend, right? Google everything that's possible. Because there's a whole bunch of programs there for veterans and things that we have no idea about. I still look at Google once a week today and still find things that I had no idea about after so many years, right? So I'm always looking at those opportunities. Look at the benefits that you have as veterans that the state might provide or on a national level that might help you get into the door, right? You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You still have to stop the procrastination, which I still do to this day. Big procrastinator, just a functional one, and start to do things. Start to do things and talk to people, network, and figure out what you like, right? Because things are going to go by really fast, right? Life is short, and before you know it, you'll spend 5 or 10 years thinking about what you want to do, and it's already gone past you. So just get ahead of it. Just get ahead of it. Start talking. Join those veteran service organizations. A lot of great resources there. These are people that have gone through it or have maybe even failed at some things, right? But they've gone to a point where they feel comfortable and they feel content.
So I'm going to hand that off to Carol because I want to bring her in specifically here. So failure is learning. If you have been successful in everything you've done, you have no idea what you're doing. You've just been lucky because there's no such thing as folks not failing at something, right? So you learn from that mistake and you grow from that mistake and you find a better path. So Carol, the non-veteran, but working in veteran services here for Felician University. So if I came to you and I just got out a couple months ago, I'm still on unemployment, and I'm like, well, you know what? I just saw Felician University webinar, and what could I do? What do you have for me that I might be able to do to get past that fear that Jason was talking about, that fear of stepping out?
So as it is obvious, I am the non-veteran on this panel.
Welcome you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I would honestly talk to you first, and I would ask what your thoughts are. I would let you know that you can go to the VA benefits website and find out what you're eligible for. Let you know as well that it's they have that they just passed it with the RUSA where you can use both your Montgomery GI Bill and your Chapter 33 now.
Right. So you have some resources at your fingertips, but it's a personal one-on-one conversation, right?
Absolutely.
Where you get to know that individual who reaches out,
Absolutely.
or you reach out to them because they tag the website or what have you, and you start to explore where they might not even think they fit in.
And even with online, because we have our hybrid, we have online programs, we have in-person programs, sometimes they're not able to do it in person. It's a
Sure.
PTSD thing, it's a uncomfortable point for them.
No one wants to drive.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
the potholes of New Jersey.
We do have the online options. I do let them know also that online is an option, but their basic housing allowance won't be as high if they took at least one course in person. But it is about building that relationship with the veteran students, with the active duty students, knowing where they're at.
Good. Commissioner, is purpose something that you find or something that you build?
I would say both.
Good.
Yes, because as I mentioned earlier, my purpose was to continue to, in my mind, that I was going to continue to help our veterans, or that I was going to go in the field to be a teacher. So still to continue to strive to make that connectedness with the community. However, I would say, I worked at the Department of Children and Family for a little bit before I went into the state. So my purpose there found me. To then I went to the Military Veterans Affairs.
Right.
So I would say it's a combination of both, you finding it, but also that drive of what you want to achieve with that purpose.
So like Jason said, you gotta take that first step, because ain't nobody gonna hand you your future.
And I would say, to go back to what Jason said, connectedness, it is such an important factor of us as a human being. And I know, coming from the military background, we tend to, okay, I'm done, that's it, it's over. I don't need to reach out to Jason, we serve together, it's done, it's over. But if there's one thing that I could encourage you to do is to build that connectedness with somebody that you know from the military, because as we continue to learn, I mean, I've been working for the state for about 12 years, but we continue to learn what are those resources out there. And many times we feel, I know everything. I know about the VSOs, I know the Veteran Service Officer organizations, and I know the Veteran Services officers in the community. And in many occasions, we come to an event and be like, oh, look, we have the Latino veterans that are serving our community.
Yeah.
So it is just a learning process of all staying connected to somebody in the community, even if you are learning online, to get connected with somebody that is connected in the community, in the veterans community, to continue to learn those resources that are available for us.
Show up. Show up. So with that, here's the reality, folks. Purpose is one thing, but you also need a path. And that's where education comes in, right, Carol?
Yes.
So using education as leverage, let's make this a practical exercise a little bit. When we say Felician is military friendly, what does that actually look like for a student walking on campus?
For a student walking
Microphone
on,
up, there you go, thank you.
for a student on campus, it looks like priority enrollment. It looks like waiving of your application fee. It looks like
Wait a minute, that's a money thing.
Yeah.
Waiving your application fee. I just wanted to repeat that. Continue.
we also waive your deposit fee.
Okay.
When you want to deposit.
How are we making money? I mean, I'm just saying, no, I'm kidding. Don't answer that.
We also have our annual Rock March, which allows you to build that community with other veteran students that are on campus. We offer the Leo P. McGuire Success Center in Lodi. It's our veteran center. It is only accessed by veterans or someone who is accompanied by a veteran, and it has a code to the door that if you want the code, you have to contact me. It is, I want to say nourishment. It is knowing that you have people here who are actually looking out for you, who can answer your questions. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to find somebody who does, and they're going to get the answer for you. It's being that go-between, because that's what I find myself being lately. I'm the middle person between our veteran community and financial aid and
Sure.
student accounts and the registrar's office, and kind of pushing and advocating for them, like, listen, these students need to be registered.
So you sound like a navigator, right? So put that into military terms. If this was Air Force, you'd be a navigator working directly hand in hand with that potential student veteran to get them the resources they need and hopefully help them towards their educational goals. And with that military experience that we have, how do you turn that into actual college credits? So people aren't thinking that they're starting from scratch, right? So Commissioner said, hey, I re-enlisted so I could get my bachelor's while I was in. How you doing? That's the way to do it. But for many of us, including myself, what's the path there?
So a lot of your military experience, your military training can be turned into credits for your degree. It's a matter of making sure that we receive your joint services transcript, your JST, and our admissions team will do an evaluation on it and figure out which ones correlates with a specific course that you need to take.
And there's a potential for prior learning assessment as well, right?
Yes.
So if you have a very specialized background, a professor can look at that and potentially you can make application for credit that way as well.
Yes.
So you're not going to get a free college education, meaning you're going to have to put in the work, but we're going to help you get there and jumpstart you, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if school isn't for me, right? So figure Jason and I, right? We're boots right out of service, enlisted guys, and we're like, you know what? What's education? What's a bachelor's degree? What's a master's degree going to get me? You know, how do you translate education into opportunity, not just a piece of paper? What's that value proposition that you're sharing with your potential veteran students? That's a hard question.
It is a hard question. Thanks for providing that. I would say it is just a piece of paper, but it opens doors for your future. If you're trying to figure out a way, if you're trying to find your purpose, if you're trying to understand the only way you're going to do that is with your education, with that piece of paper. And if the piece of paper isn't something you want, then we also offer certificate programs. So you can also do
So
that.
there's many ways of getting there, and Colonel, I'll share that question with you. That same question, if school isn't for me, and you have folks that are like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want this or I want that. You know, what advice can you give them about how an education helps you in your future, potentially?
Yeah, sure. So, wow, that's really loud. So there's book learning, which is important and part of the process, and then there's life learning, right?
Yeah.
And you have to balance both of those to really understand. And you said something very profound before, Leo. Failure is education. And I am a proponent of that because I have failed multiple times in my life. One time specifically, I was going to set up a business. I did set up a business for healthcare for veterans, to improve healthcare for veterans. I was able to raise some money for it and put it into practice. I was going to work with the VA, and the VA said, yes, this is where we want to go. And then they turned around and said, no, you don't work for the VA, so we can't share information with you, which is hurt. But we did this whole thing. We did proof of concept, we did everything, and then we tried to commercialize it. And I failed. I was not able to commercialize it, even though we proved our point that by assigning wellness coaches to veterans that are veterans themselves, you have a profound effect on improving health outcomes. So at the time, I was completely miserable because I'm like, man, I can't believe I failed at this. I was not able to commercialize this. However, it led me to my job today, where I work for Brave and Health, where I understand the healthcare environment, I understand the intricacies of improving health outcomes, and taking care of veterans in the health specter that's what led me to where I am. So even though one door closed, another one opened.
Absolutely. So quick poll out there. How many of you have thought about going back to school but haven't pulled the trigger yet? There's going to be some people out there in the interweb that are saying, how can this be for me? So that's what this is all about. That's who this is for, those that are trying to figure out their place. Now, not everybody wants that traditional path. Some of you want to build something, lead something, or own something. So Jeff, let's talk about opportunity. Can a veteran in New Jersey operate and build a successful business right now, or is that just fluff?
No, absolutely they can. So that's one good thing about being in the military. It gives you the strength and the drive and the fortitude to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. On top of that, the state of New Jersey has a set-aside law for disabled veteran-owned businesses. So 3% of all state contracts should be set aside for disabled veteran-owned businesses. That potentially is $300 million just for disabled veteran-owned businesses. So there is tremendous opportunity for that. And we got some laws changed to make it work better. So instead of 3 bidders for any one job, if you're a disabled veteran business, you only need 2. So there's really, really advantageous programs for veterans to start businesses.
And if someone has an idea but no roadmap, what's step 1? Not step 10, right? I need step 1. I'm a simple guy, right? I need step 1. If I want to start a business in New Jersey as a veteran, combat veteran, disabled veteran, all of the above, what's step 1?
Step 1 is join the Veterans Chamber of Commerce. We'll help you.
How much does that cost?
$0.
What?
Yeah. For veterans,
For free?
it's $0.
For free, it's for me.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's we put people in touch with other markets, with networks, with access to capital, with all the things that you need to successfully run a business.
So you're an entrepreneurship hub as well, it sounds like. So I can go back to Felician. The MBA is in innovation and entrepreneurship, right, Carol? So if you already have a bachelor's, like Esther did while she was in, different masters, you want to get a second master's, we got you in innovation and entrepreneurship, which I went through in 2008, and it helped me see the things that I felt were real and the concepts that we shared. And Diane Settlemeyer here is also a fellow MBA. It's possible. So every step you take with the resources that we have, there's opportunity there if you keep your eyes open. Right? You stay in bed, you don't get up, like you said, right? If you don't get up and put that one foot in front of the other, you're never going to get across the street. So with that, let me ask you a little bit more, Colonel, about the Braven Medicare Salute Program and how do folks access that? What is that?
Yeah, so all they have to do is go to bravenhealth.com/salute. If you are a member of the VA, if you get TRICARE for life, if you retired out of the military, when you turn 65, you can get this program. It's $0 for veterans and their spouses. So you get a network of incredible physicians, mental health, physical health, hearing, vision, all types of amazing things at a $0 premium.
Wow. So that program helps connect your existing VA, TRICARE, and your Medicare benefit?
That's correct.
Health benefit?
That's exactly right.
So you don't have to go to 27 different places, kind of one-stop shop for you?
You get to choose. If you want to go to VA, you go to VA. If you want to go here in Rutherford to see your doctor, you can go to Rutherford to see your doctor.
Wow.
You get money for food, you get money for gym memberships, you get money for over-the-counter purchases. It's really a very beneficial program for
I have my Braven Health benefit card, and I try to drop it on everything. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, so it's very, very, very helpful. So with that, what separates the veterans who succeed in business from the ones who stall out?
So I would say number one is being there, right? Showing up. You have to show up. Because here's the deal. You go to a meeting, you don't know if that meeting is going to make any difference to you. You don't know if that's going to really have a profound impact on your business. However, you don't know if you're going to meet the next person that's going to introduce you to somebody that's going to open up that door that you absolutely need. So if you show up, the likelihood is you're going to network and you're going to be able to meet with those people that you actually need that's going to help you with your business. That's how you succeed, is that interaction, that networking, understanding your components and understanding your industry and being a part of the chamber and showing up to events that we do that opens up so many doors.
There'll always be someone there to welcome you, and you will feel like home once you actually step out and go to these events. And you'll realize there's much, 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 much more in common than not. Would that be true?
100%.
So with that, all of this purpose, education, business, it only works if the foundation is strong. And that means support. So, Commissioner, real support, real talk. Let's bring this down to what's actually available. Now, I know you have a super busy schedule. We were on a call yesterday kind of prepping for this, and you're like, that's to go. Because you were getting pulled in 700 different directions in this new area of veteran services here in New Jersey. So thank you very much. We're honored to have you present, as well as being an alum. So what PTSD and mental health resources exist in New Jersey that veterans may not even know about?
I love talking about our PTSD program because it's also free, very free. So the state of New Jersey has provided within the community for our veterans to attend and receive services, not only for the veteran, but also for the spouse. And I like to say that it is completely free because it is completely free. And you could be in the program for up to 10 years. We have people who have been in the program for 10 years, utilizing the service, dropping, coming back. We have providers all the way from here in Bergen County, FDU being a provider here, all the way to South Jersey. So easy process. It's a quick application with your DD-214 just to meet the criteria, and that has to be done with one of our veteran service officers. So we have one in each county that represent the state, but it is also available through the county VSO, the County Veteran Service Officer. Same form, and since we are innovating, as you mentioned, innovation, we are trying to work on putting those forms online. So now it goes directly to our office. You don't have to walk into an office to make that referral. You will be able to do that form online on your own and upload your DD-214 if that's what you choose to. Then one personnel from our office will contact you to share with you whether you're entitled to the program or not. And I would say, I don't like to say no to people, so that decision usually comes to the high leadership. So if somebody applies for the program, I say, let's make the referral. Let the professional say yes or no whether they're entitled to the program or not. So PTSD is one of the things that we are high focused. We also offer what is called mental health first aid training throughout the state of New Jersey. We received a grant through the SAMSAT a couple of years ago, and that's been sustained throughout the years. So we try to provide training to the community to become mental health first aid certified, which is such a great thing for us to know, for you to be aware what are those signs of suicide, and for you to be able to say, okay, I see it, now I know what to do and where to refer that veteran, for you to be aware and have that knowledge if it's needed. Listen, I can talk all day.
I know. So that was a perfect segue there, because how can Felician University partner with the state to assist those veterans who come to Carroll, for instance, also access those resources? What program is existing or are you building that connects us directly with those resources?
So I would say definitely, and I met Carol before. I met her on one of the NAJASPA meetings, which is for the state, the school certifying office. So I came to provide some information about one of our great new programs, which is Bringing Veterans Home. And it is a program for our own house veteran. In collaboration with the State of New Jersey Veterans Affairs and the Department of Community Affairs, we're granted $30 million about a year and a half ago in order for us to bring New Jersey to what is called functional zero of homelessness. And that doesn't mean that we will not have any homelessness, but what it means is that if a veteran enters into homelessness, then we will be able to address that within 30 days.
Within 30 days?
30 days.
Wow. So sticking on that point for a second, you mentioned Carol and education. If you are not successful, that potential student can never get that degree. They can never enter into the school. They don't have a place to live. So the connection there is rock solid.
Brings me back to connectedness.
Yeah.
We can't do this alone. Never. It can never happen, right? Because Leo heads up the street and Leo finds a veteran. And then Leo knows how to call Jason, how to call Esther, how to call Carol, how to call Jeff. So I always say the importance of being connectedness and using the community resources that we all have. If I always have a veteran, I say, go to Felicia, they're so good. But it's just making those referrals and being aware and being knowledgeable about the resources that we have in the community. We just recently launched Office of Women's Veteran in the state of New Jersey.
I don't get to ask any questions. You're on it. You're on it. I was going to bring you into that.
You got me started.
I was going to say, let me ask a question just so I set it up, because that's such an important topic that you brought up. forever, women have been supporting the military or participating in the military. And okay, you were a nurse, you know, you were Betsy Ross, making a flag, whatever. Why today is it finally in New Jersey that we have the Office of Women Veterans?
I would say it's also a collaboration with our first female veteran governor in the state and
True.
and territories. This is the first ever female veteran that we have had.
Got it.
So it is also in collaboration with that, and we wanted to make sure to, as some of you might know, and as you mentioned, female veterans is the faster growing population that is coming up. And we have seen it, we know it, they hiding, they don't want to be seen because of, at times, because of what they're exposed to while they were in the military, or because we feel that now we are parents, we are moms, we are providers, and that's what we want to focus on. Then the military is just completing the background and not being seen and noticed for. So we want to make sure that our female veterans are receiving the same service and the same support as our male counterpart in the state.
So, question to the audience is, how many of you even knew half of these resources existed that we've talked about thus far? You know, I learn every day. Jason mentioned it earlier. I learn every day as I continue to network and I continue to meet folks that there's so much support out there, you gotta get out of bed. And depending on what your mental health is at the time, it might be really, really hard to get out of bed. So, with mental health first aid, Commissioner, how does that empower veterans to look out for each other and empower themselves to get up and out of bed, realizing the things that they're facing internally?
We are a force multiplier in a sense of we provide that training, but also for that training to continue to move forward. I like to say force multiplier in the sense that you learn, but also you share what you learned with others. So great example will be, we come to Felicia, you have a group of students that are better and non-veteran, but also that they continue to share that training with others, and for you to be aware and informed of those services, because part of the mental health first aid training is that we provide, that we share the services that are available to our veterans in New Jersey. So it is just a wild madness of learning and continue to be informed with what's out there. Listen, every day I get up and I want to make an impact, even if it's small, and it doesn't have, many times I would love to impact the veteran, but sometimes that is not the case. But I would say, if I made a little impact in somebody's life today, my day is done and happy for days.
Jeff? That period, end of story, right there, Esther. You're exactly right, period.
I just want to just elaborate on what Esther just said, because her program is such a good program that she's rolled out. So if a veteran, let's say they're a student here, if a veteran is going through a crisis situation, they have a program called Vet to Vet, right? Where they can pick up a phone and call, talk to somebody, get a counselor where they are. What's really great about Esther and her program too is she's got VSOs, veteran service officers, in all 21 counties, and they have access, so they can get the reports and file a claim for the veteran to improve their payouts from the VA. All inclusive, all under one shop. So her program is one of the best programs around.
And again, back to networking, right? Showing up at events, participating, having relationships that you don't know how deep they are until they're needed. So anecdotally, I got a call from a former student, because I was an adjunct at FDU as well as here, and a former student, combat veteran, she called me. She had moved out of state. And she was in crisis. And she called me on Veterans Day. And she says, she started crying on the phone, said, "Professor, I don't know what to do." And she had called not vet to vet. She was out of state. She called somewhere else, and they're like, "We'll get back to you." You can't get back to someone who's in crisis right then and there. So I spoke to her as a military leader in mission and got her to promise that her mission was to stay alive and take one foot in front of the other. I followed up with her, 100%, moved back to Jersey. Life is good. That's one. That's one person that was in crisis. So as the commissioner said, that was my day, and that happened probably 5 years ago. Never forget it. That's about relationships, that's about connectivity, and that's about trust, engendering that trust that we have because we all wore a uniform, whether it's a law enforcement uniform, a military uniform, and we tease each other. We got a couple Army guys here, we got Navy, we got Marine Corps. It does not matter what uniform you wore. We all serve. So with that, this is open here. The biggest mistake veterans make in transition. Biggest mistake. Learning opportunity. Biggest
Now you got
mistake.
me more excited. What I would say, and going back to what Jeff was mentioning about filing a compensation claim, the biggest mistake that our veterans do is get a lawyer.
Oh.
It is my number one. Because there are so many resources in the sense of we have veteran service officers that can help you file the claim, whether it's state, whether it's county, all
So you
free.
talk about a lawyer that says, or a firm that's out there all the time saying, we will pay us this, or we'll take a percentage, and we'll file your claims for you. Is that what you're talking
One
about?
of those law firms that say, we're gonna get you to 100%, baby. That's what they say.
Big
But we
promise.
are taking, great anecdote of, I was working with a client, with a veteran, who her case went back to when I was a VSO in 2017. Her case just recently got adjudicated.
Wow.
I want to say about 2 months ago, but she did get a big amount of money. We're talking about, she got $560,000
And back then.
back then.
Yeah.
So imagine if that lawyer will take 20 or 30%,
Sure.
because it could be 20 or 30. So in that sense, I would say that is the number one mistake. And also, staying inside the house. Like Jason said, we
Yeah.
need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I know some of you are introvert, I'm not. I like to talk and chat, that's just me. But we also have to take advantage of, and forget about, there's many times that we say, oh no, I'm not entitled to it, I'm not missing a limb. Having my full body, I can still go to work, we understand that. But I always tell our veterans, you may not need it now. The number one, the VA, Veterans Affairs, the medical part of it. People like not to register for it. And it's just so simple to keep your Veterans Affairs active. Once a year, you gotta go see them, they do go work, and you will stay in the system. Because as we get older, I will tell you, the VA becomes like the number one insurance that you can get.
Yeah.
There's so many entitlements that you can get from there. It is incredible. So I know when we're young and I got out of the military and I'm strong and I can just go to work and I get my corporate job or my state job, I don't need it. But staying up to date with the services that you're entitled to, whether it's applying for a pension, applying for compensation, or applying for your VA benefits for healthcare, it is so critical.
So, what is the most underused resource in New Jersey? Jason, since you're close to the mic, what do you got? What's an underused resource in New Jersey for veterans?
I would say the education.
Sure.
We're not taking advantage of that as often as we should, right? Because then we're thinking in our heads, well, we have to go get this 6-year degree, whatever it is. But there's so many other things, right? Like Carol was talking about the certificate programs. There's, I think the OTJ still around, right? The on-the-job training, right? The trades. You want to go to pilot school. You want to go be an EMT.
Helmets, hard hats, there's tons
Yes,
of
there's a
programs.
lot of different programs that on the state and the national level they recognize and they'll take the GI Bill, right? So use that money. I would say I'm happy that they've gotten better with that, right? Because when I got out of active duty, there was a 10-year limit on using GI Bill. I had a cousin of mine that he went into the military with me, and he completely let the whole 10 years go by, and he used now $1 of that GI Bill. So now he can't get it, right? So now, fast forward, now they have the forever GI Bill, right? It doesn't go away. And then you can pass it on to your kids, right? So, but there's other things you never know in the future, things that might have a limit to it, or they add or take away. So definitely take advantage of everything you have. There's resources, right? You've got the Department of Veteran Affairs. You can ask them exactly what you're entitled to based on your service, and they'll give you the whole breakdown. Right?
What do you think, Jeff, about these underused resources?
I mean, there's so many resources that really aren't used. You know, Syracuse University has a program called IVMF, the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, and they offer a program called Onward to Opportunity. If you want a PMP professional, PMP certification,
Yeah.
you can get it for
Project
free.
management.
Project management
Yeah.
professional. You can get it for free. If you want other certifications, IT certifications, cyber certifications, you can get it all for free,
Right.
no cost because of raising your right.
PMP is a really, really good one. You can use that across the board, and having another comma after your name never hurts, right? So, Carol, what matters more, education, network, or mindset? Guys, I'm throwing you a softball.
I think all of it matters, but
Yeah.
I think mindset. Your mindset, if your mind is right, then you can achieve everything else. If your mind isn't right, you're gonna want to stay in bed. You're gonna want to retreat and not be out in the world, not network. If you have the right mindset and the willpower, I think that's the most important.
Okay, for everybody, I want to hear a quickie. Tough, Commissioner, I know.
Okay.
One move someone here should make in the next 30 days. Give it to Jeff first.
If you want to start a business, join the chamber.
Bam. Carol, call me.
If you want an education, come to Felicia.
Commish.
If you want to learn about your benefits, contact one of our veteran service officers.
Perfect. Jason.
If you want to network, join one of the many veteran service organizations that are out there. That's your start to really keep the perspective of all that there is out there.
Outstanding. We've covered a lot, but your situation is what matters. We're going to talk about those of you, if you're online, drop something in the chat. I don't know if anybody's watching the laptop. If there's a question in the chat, if you're here in the room, raise your hand. If you're virtual, drop your question. Don't overthink it. If you're wondering about it, someone else is too. Anybody have a question? Diane, you always have a question or an opportunity. I count on you as my partner.
Yes, don't forget that there's a military grant available to all veterans who are not 100%, who have run out of their GI Bill, or need emergency assistance.
There's a military grant, you said? Say it one more time.
Military grant, the Felician military grant, in addition to any of the other stipends that you may have received, in addition to your GI Bill. Sometimes you go down a path and you received a degree and you just don't want to do it anymore, right, Esther? And you're looking for more, well, there's assistance for you, especially if you've got some GI Bill left and you run out midway, you're halfway through, 3/4 through, now what? You have to talk to us.
And Felicia's got resources that, and listen, there's SOS out there, right? There's SOS is out there. So if you're in between and you're not going to make your next insurance payment on your car, you can't get to school, you can't get to work. So additionally, and outside of that, if you stumble and get into trouble, what resources are out there, right? Come over here with the mic, over here. What resources are out there? This is Bergen County specific, but what resources are out there that I just got into trouble? What does Bergen County, as an example of one of the 21 counties, what does the prosecutor's office provide for a veteran who stumbled?
So throughout the state, there's a veterans diversion statute that provides for diversionary programs within all 21 counties. So if a veteran is charged with a 3rd or 4th degree offense that is nonviolent, they are entitled to a diversion of some sort. That may be to pre-existing diversion programs like PTI, recovery court. It may be within every specific county may have a separate mental health diversion program or a veteran-specific diversion program. So that's something that would be available to every charged defendant with a 3rd and 4th degree nonviolent offense in New Jersey.
3rd and 4th degree, nonviolent. Even a 3rd degree?
Yes.
Wow. That's
And it's also available in municipal court.
Sure.
It's not available for motor vehicle summonses, so not for DUIs, but disorderly persons offenses as well. So if your case is in municipal court or in felony indictable court, so Superior Court of New Jersey. That is something that is available to all veterans in New Jersey.
That's tremendously helpful. So we talked about mistakes as an education earlier, did we not? And that's a perfect example. We all make mistakes. We can find ourselves in a position that, were it not for service, we might not have caused that stumble, or we might have other co-occurring disorders that we might need addressed. So that's why the mental health is so important. That's why the chamber connection is so important. That's why this Carol here is so important. Carol and Diane specifically is so important because we can help point you to resources. And lastly, that network that Jason and I talk about, we live every single day, is critically important. So, flashing up on the screen behind us and online are contacts for each one of us. I mentioned to you a personal story. That's only one of hundreds that I've had to assist fellow veterans. Not just in crisis, but that we're trying to decide the next step. So keep this webinar, go back to it, because we move pretty quickly, and because we're Jersey folks, we speak very quickly, so it might have to be transcribed at some point, but I'll leave you with this. Oh wait, before I do that, because we have a couple more minutes. Closing statement. Jason, I'll start with you. Anything, I did a quickie. Give me a couple sentences about it in closing for yourself.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. Have fun. Don't do too much. And like I said, just get out there and ask the questions. Ask the questions and get the information you need for yourself to be successful.
Commissioner?
I would say continue to repeat, stay connected, stay in touch with others. And I know sometimes it's hard to get out of the bed. We all go through that, but you gotta put that first foot forward and move forward, because there are people here to support you every step of the way.
No matter what you're going through, no matter how you feel, and if you feel you're alone, you're not. There's other people out there that are going through the same thing, even if you don't see it. So make sure you reach out.
Excellent.
And there are so many economic development opportunities for veterans. Every county has a one-stop shop, run by Department of Labor. If you're looking for meaningful employment, there are connections there. They'll even help you write a resume for free, dress for success. They'll do all that stuff for you. If you want to start a business, there's resources there. If you want to network, there's resources there. So from an economic development standpoint for veterans, there's so many opportunities.
Network. Put the left foot in front of the other, right? So remember how you used to march? It starts at that first step. So with that, I'll leave you with this. You've already proved you can operate under pressure. You already know what discipline looks like. You already understand commitment to service, commitment to self, commitment to your battle buddy. Do that buddy check now and again. Carol, maybe think about a buddy check. What you need now is direction and connection. And both are available to you right here. The next move is yours. Let's go make it count. And remember, thanks to Colonel Cantor and Hannibal, I shall either find a way or make one. Thank you for being here, folks.